change is inevitable. You've got to learn a new programming language every 3 years. But I think the way businesses are working and the way industry is moving, I think IT is being merged with business. I don't think there's going to be a clear IT and a clear business line in the future.
Welcome to Tech Talent Today, where IT leaders share their tough challenges, creative solutions, and latest insights. You'll discover fresh ideas and inspiration here with your host, IT staffing veteran and president of Claremont Technologies, Jody Kulik-Mayer. And now, here's Jody.
Welcome to Tech Talent Today. I'm your host, Jody Kulik-Mayer. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Gary Beumee. Gary is a 30-year IT veteran who has spent his career working across sectors of shipping and logistics, consumer electronics, finance and insurance as both a consultant and an employee. Beginning his career as a developer, he eventually found himself managing teams and has led application development areas for corporate applications and claims, as well as PMO organizations. He considers himself a servant leader and believes that the relationship that one builds across IT, business, and vendor teams are at the core of how to be as successful as possible in your corporate life. Welcome, Gary. Thanks so much for being here.
Hey, Jody. How are you?
Great. So I was looking forward to speaking with you because you had the courage to change jobs later in your career, and you're not somebody who changed jobs often. You worked at your last two companies for over 10 years, and a lot of people would have ridden it out until they can retire. So why did you decide to make a change versus riding it out?
Yeah, that's a good question. You're right. My last two jobs I had spent 10 and 11 years at. And, when you're at a place that long, you get comfortable. I think it was a little easier to leave my Wall Street job because it's just a whole another level of insanity, quite honestly. And I had done, my time there. But my last job prior to my current one, great company, great people. I was doing a role that was new to me. I had been doing it for a couple of years. I think I did all I could in it. And I just thought maybe, it's time for a change. I'd been here at that company. I'd been there, like I mentioned, close to 11 years. I had done a number of roles. So I almost felt like I think I've done all the roles that I'm eligible to do here and qualified to do. So maybe it was time to just move on to another place where it would be a whole new set of challenges. So that's kind of the idea behind why I left. And to your point, you can't see me because this is a podcast, but my beard is fairly speckled with gray. So I've been around a while. And I thought, if I do want to make a move, I probably need to make it now because it would be harder and it would probably be my last move.
Right. And before you decided to look, did it even cross your mind about age discrimination in IT?
Yeah, it absolutely did. I mean, getting back to my prior statement, I thought if I don't make the move soon, it will probably be more difficult. So it was definitely on my mind. And I don't think that's, you said within IT, I don't know that it's relegated to IT. I think in the corporate world, it tends to be a factor, so I thought maybe now's a good time to take that chance.
Right. And did you have criteria for a new company? Like, what did you look for? Because obviously you're a good chooser because you stay places for 10 years. So what was your criteria?
Yeah. I've been very fortunate in that respect. I've put a lot of thought into when I do make moves with companies. And I've been very fortunate that my decisions have been good ones because I've been very happy. Company culture, I'm very much a relationship person. So it's very important to me, how the conversations go and how the interviews go. Do I feel a connection? Do I feel people are being honest? People are being open? When they describe the company culture, is it one that sounds like it's going to jive with my values? So, my current company, I felt all those things in a positive manner. So made the decision. And, it's not an easy decision when you're at a place for a number of years. I had no indication things would change for me in a negative way at my prior job. It's just a big, you take a chance and you want to make a change and do something new. You got to go for it.
Right. And so what were some of the challenges you faced from being at a new firm?
Well, I think the first one is change in general, right?
Right.
Everybody is forced to change now more so than ever. I think, the last 10 years in technology have just been a constant mandate that people must change. They must adapt, grow, shift. They must adapt, grow, and shift. So I think, that was probably the most uneasy aspect of making a change and switching jobs is what are you walking into? Did you make the right choice? Is it going to be everything that you thought it was going to be?
Right. Yeah, that is stressful. So did you have any concern that you need to develop new relationships, that, the business doesn't know you? How did you address those things?
Yeah. I have historically worked in the corporate applications areas of IT, which is summarize it as everything else, right? I work for an insurance company now. There's a silo that supports the insurance business. There's a silo that supports the reinsurance business. And then there's everything else, legal, HR, finance, et cetera. So I was used to having multiple customers that I had to interface with. So that was going to be the case again at my new job. So it's just a matter of going out there and meeting them, getting a lot of FaceTime, which pre-COVID was very possible. And, that's kind of what I did. I got in as quickly as possible, met as many people as possible to start establishing those relationships.
Right. Have you brought anyone onto your team that you haven't met in person yet, just due to COVID?
Yeah, actually, very interesting. I brought a gentleman onto the team, project manager, to manage one of our big implementations. And I think he was scheduled to come in for an interview, and then COVID hit right then and there. So we switched over to video interviews. I ended up hiring him. He worked for me for a year and a half on the project, and we went live. Everything was successful. And during the course of COVID, he ended up migrating to Florida, and then he ended up retiring. So I never shook the gentleman's hand.
Wow.
So it was very, very strange. So I've hired a few people that I met only on video. That gentleman aside, I've since been able to meet face-to-face with all those people.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, because things have changed since the beginning.
Yeah, we're starting to, come back in a hybrid mode. So
right. Before then, did you think it was hard for the people who have not met the other members on the team in person, like gel together, right? Because it's only from video. So did you find that was an impediment, or maybe it wasn't?
Yeah, I think ultimately it is. I always try to get the teams to do some things, together off hours to have some fun. One of the first things I did when I switched places, I found out there's this thing called axe throwing, which made a very quick ascent into the culture before COVID shut everything down. But I thought, well, that's kind of crazy and fun. So, I called them up and I found out what the deal was. And surprisingly, I was amazed. They said, oh, yeah, you tell us how many in your party. And if you like, you can bring your own alcohol. We'll put it in a cooler. And I thought, oh, axe throwing and alcohol. That's great. But it was a great event. We actually had a blast. We brought in some pizza and just had some fun and laughs and made each other look silly. But it was a great bonding experience. And anybody who's joined since then hasn't had that opportunity. So it is tough. We organized a lot of after hours online cocktail hours and things of that nature where we just get together, 5:30 on a big Zoom call. And it's an open forum, it's what movies have you seen? Show us pictures of your kids. Show us your kids. Bring, put them on your lap, whatever. So that, making attempts to try to get people who are new to the group and existing ones some set of, some resemblance of normalcy.
I think that is a great idea to have like a happy hour on Zoom, because I was wondering how could that really work, but it does seem like your team embraced it and made it work.
Yeah, it was great. And it wasn't just my team, to be clear. The company did a lot.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, the company did a lot of things like that. They would organize wine tastings and things of that nature. So you could sign up for that. You'd have some samples sent to your house, and then everybody gets online and does it. So the creativity, COVID, I often say COVID was a blessing and a curse.
Right.
I was personally very fortunate. I wasn't too impacted by anyone that I was very close to. I did lose a couple college friends, unfortunately.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But my family was safe, my direct family, my close family. So it was obviously a very trying time for many, but I think it also allowed people or forced people to do many different and creative things as well, and opportunities. I think a lot of people took stock in their life and made adjustments in their lives that they were kind of forced to make. They were forced to stop and smell the roses, if you will, be appreciative of what they had, or start appreciating what they had and they had lost track of. So, unfortunately, I think that's also what's lending itself to, the great resignation. Right. And the difficulties that many companies across every sector are having trying to find people. For sanity, I play in a band, and so I know a lot of bar owners and have discussions with them, and that service industry is having a terrible time trying to find people. And by and large, a lot of the comments aren't necessarily that, people are getting supported by the government with relief, et cetera, so they don't want to work. It's more so a fact in that industry. What I've heard is that people who are driving hours to work nights and weekends, spent a year and a half home with their families, and when they got called back to work, they were like, I really don't want to work nights and weekends. I want to, pivot and try to spend more time with my family. So it's been a very interesting time in that respect.
Right. And did you take stock of your life and decide that you're going to make some changes during this time?
Yeah, a little bit. My wife and I have adult children. Our youngest child just turned 20. So by virtue of that, we're kind of forced to kind of take stock and start our next chapter, which is both sad and fun at the same time.
Right.
Because I love my children. It's been such a great ride with them. But we also have a situation where I have a very close relative out of state, and she kind of needs help. She's, got some things going on physically, and having COVID, having a work from home scenario has allowed me to spend that time out of state doing what she needs and helping her out. So again, the blessing curse thing, right? If we weren't working from home at this point, I don't know what I would have done. I don't know that I could have helped her as I have, and my wife as well, without that situation coming up. So again, that blessing curse thing, it's very, very strange. It's an anomaly, but it's allowed me to help her out. So that's been great.
Right. And then I guess beyond, the time of helping her, do you know what your like next act is going to be, or that's to be determined?
Yeah, more to be determined. I've been so lucky so far. Like I mentioned, I've personally not had any drastic negative impacts with COVID. The unknown about when your kids get out of college and where they end up, we'd obviously like to be near them, but who knows? I have one son who, with COVID, went completely remote with his school his junior year. So he moved out west with some buddies and did his whole junior year from Jackson Hole.
Wow.
So now, this was a guy I thought was an East Coast guy and going to stick around, and I don't know what's going to happen. So that's just an example of, you really don't know what the future holds. So I don't know. I don't know what the future holds. I would like to finish out my career and then see what happens next. My wife and I love to travel. We love to entertain. I like to play music. I think that's probably got an end life on it, sooner than later, because it's tough playing out late and singing and stuff. So, and I'd rather finish that off in a good way rather than being pushed off to the side. All right, it's enough. No one wants to hear that anymore.
Right. Well, I don't know. The Rolling Stones are still going, so maybe you still have plenty of time to keep playing.
God bless him. God bless him. And Paul McCartney too. I saw Paul McCartney with my sons. I think he was 72 at the time, and he was absolutely riveting. So
don't end your musical career too soon. And it's funny what you mentioned with your son. I have a son who is 11, and I tease him that wherever he moves, we'll be living one block away.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So just to go back to work, I'm just curious, what is your thought? Do you think that it's best for people to come back hybrid, to stay remote, to come back 5 days a week? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Everyone's different. It's funny you bring that up, and it's interesting. We just had a holiday party at my company, and they went out of their way to really make everyone as comfortable as possible, and it was very spread out, and it was great to see people again. And I do support HR from a business standpoint. I had some conversations with my colleagues in HR, and it's a very tough time for them right now, trying to juggle everything. And one of the points that someone made is you have to just be open. Companies have to be open, right? Some people are dying to get back to the office full time, and some people are dying to stay home full time, and the rest are happy doing a hybrid thing. So I think employees need to be flexible, and I think companies need to be flexible. COVID changed the rules for everybody, quite honestly, and I think any company that wants to be rigid and say, we got to get back to normal and we got everybody back in the office, I think they're going to have a tough time, because I think everybody's gotten a little taste of what work from home permanent is, and many are getting tastes of what a hybrid mode is. And I think it's now the new norm and the new expectation. And I think conversely, to my earlier point, I think employees need to be open as well, right? The employee expectation can't be, well, I want to be full-time, so it just has to happen or I'll leave. Everything is still evolving. We don't know how quickly we will get back to normal, and I'm using air quotes. I don't know if we'll ever be back to normal. I think there's a new normal.
Right.
And I think that will just continue to evolve like everything else does. So I think overall, to generalize it, I think people have to be willing to meet companies in the middle and vice versa. And come to arrangements that work for both. Right.
So is that part of a retention strategy that you're thinking about?
I think it should be. I don't make those types of rules and decisions at my company, but we are in a hybrid mode for majority of the company. There's certain roles and things that you have to be in the office to do, and there's other roles that they've decided can be permanent work from home. And, that's helped defer costs to rent auxiliary space, because our company happens to be growing astronomically and things are going well. But that, in the old world, that meant, okay, we have to rent more space, buy more space. And now, they've avoided some of that spend with a model that, takes some of the jobs that don't require people to be there and make them permanent work from home.
So do you have like a personal management philosophy? Like how do you manage?
Yeah, I think I do. I kind of define management styles into two blocks, which is silly, but there's two types of people in the world.
Right.
I think there's those managers that put out a disposition of, I don't know you, you're a new person, and it's up to you to build my trust. I'm the opposite. When I interview people or, people transfer in, whatever, we're all adults. We're all in the professional world. My philosophy is, you have my trust. I vetted you and we spoke. You're an adult. You know what the expectations are. So I trust you. It's up to you to lose it, in essence. So that tends to be my philosophy. I want people to join a group, join a team, be confident, be supported. I tend to think people that have that other philosophy, it's up to you to earn my trust. I think people feel like they come in with two strikes against them already. They're walking on a thin wire, and to me, that's not productive, and it's counterintuitive to building teamwork and inclusion.
Right. You won't get the best out of people.
Yeah, I truly believe that. If you're nervous going in and you're wary going in, you're not going to do your best work.
Right, because you're going to be too busy worrying about all of that and the politics. So that
Right.
doesn't.
Oh, did I just say the wrong thing?
Oh, right.
It's like, no, let's throw it out there. Let's see what happens. And so that's my overall philosophy in a nutshell.
Now, did you have a mentor?
Yeah, I've been, again, so fortunate in my career. I've had a few people that have really made a positive impact on me. And actually, I've had some people who have made a negative impact on me. And I think that is valuable too. But yeah, I've had a couple people when I was starting out in my career. I started out working for Maersk Shipping, which is a huge global logistics company, and they're based in Denmark. That was just an incredible experience, and I had some people there that really, right out of computer school, took me under their wing and helped guide me. And then I went into consulting, and that was really interesting and very different because you change customers frequently, and I had a couple mentors there that really made an impact on me. And it was so great. Just a couple months ago, two of these guys, Mike and Mike, two Mikes, actually came to one of my band gigs, and I got to see them. I hadn't seen either of them probably in 25 years, so that was great. And I've had some other ones along the way too that made a big difference. And I still think about the positive impact and the things that I gleaned from their leadership.
Now, was it just good fortune that you found them? Like, was it from an official company mentorship program, or was it just people who saw something in you and took you under their wing?
No, it was fortunate for me, the latter. Just, people, you connect with people, or you're lucky to work under some very good leaders, and that's just what they do. So that was my experience. I had not worked until my current company has a formal mentorship program, which is really valuable, and I've participated in that. But prior to that, I've never had any formal arranged mentorship. It's mostly just relationships and leaders in the company.
Right. Yeah, I think that a mentorship program or just having a mentor is really important. And I wonder, right, with companies that are fully remote, where you can't just bump into people, that piece could be missing.
Yeah. And I think that's where companies, good companies go out of their way to institute those types of programs. I mentioned I'm involved with my current company's mentoring program, and I have a relationship now with a guy that was hired, and he works full-time remote because of his role, and he's in the middle of the country. So again, I've never met him. We talk online, and we've established a very nice relationship. And I've asked him to pick up his little 1-year-old girl, put him on his lap, and I can hear her in the background as he's trying to balance being a work from home dad and such. But it's a great thing. I think it's necessary. And companies, especially now in this mode where people are spread out, they've got to go and do those extra types of things to make sure that, rapport and relationships are built.
Right. Yeah, I think having a formal mentorship program is more important than ever.
Yeah, totally agree.
When you mentioned that you have your person show, introduce you to their child, that is one thing I've really loved about meeting with people on video. You do get a taste of their personal life and a full picture and really get to know them better.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really enjoy that.
Yeah, it's been an interesting view into people's personal space,
Right. Right, for good and bad.
Yeah. Some have not benefited from that.
Right.
A couple of people have lost their jobs over that, but it's made for good fodder.
Right.
And humor. It's
true. So how did you end up in IT?
So that's a great question. Getting back to my alter ego life. So I have a master's in music. I went to undergrad school for music. I got my master's in music. And I just started to think, I'm going to be working weekends, holidays in a musician's field. It's going to be very tough to establish some kind of normal relationship with anybody. And is that something I really want? So I started to ponder, what could be a good alternative. And I had met a couple people who had recommended this great computer school that existed. It's unfortunately not around anymore, called the Chubb Institute. So I took a chance and I took the test and I got in and I did that. And it was a great program. It was very hard. I think I started out in my class with 70 or so people. And they were very upfront and honest from the beginning. They said, this is a grueling program. If you're having any life-changing events in the next 8 months, quit the school now because you're not going to be able to do it. If you're going to get married, you're going to have a baby, et cetera, you just quit because you won't make it. And we ended up graduating, I think, with 24 people.
Wow.
So, and I don't think that was unusual. I think that was, par for the course. It was a very challenging thing. So that's how I made it into IT. I just kind of said, let me see if I could shift gears. So, obviously it's been a very good move for me. I've been able to, have a good career, raise a family, have a home, and I still do the music on the side to keep me sane. So it's all worked out.
That's great. Before we go, do you have any parting thoughts?
I guess the theme around COVID and change would be the thing that I would say, people should keep in mind, right? And I think in life in general, but again, especially in IT, change is inevitable. You've got to learn a new programming language every 3 years. But I think the way businesses are working and the way industry is moving, I think IT is being merged with business. I don't think there's going to be a clear IT and a clear business line in the future. It's changing now. Like, some car companies are even saying, we're a technology company that just happens to make cars, right? That's a great example, I think, of how things are going. So I think between that and the lifestyle changes we've all been forced into with COVID, changes is constant. And I think people have to keep that in mind. Workers, employees, companies have to keep that always in the forefront of their mind, that if you come in Thursday and it's not like it was on Wednesday, why is that? And how can we make it like it was on Wednesday? Rather than try to make it like it was on Wednesday, let's just deal with Thursday and see how we can make it work and better adapt to it. I think that's probably the key. I'm trying to enforce that mentality on my own children as my daughter's now in the workforce and started her own company and it's doing great. My sons will be there soon. And I think they see it on their own. It's just that's their generation. It's like, I can do anything. I just have to be willing to change and adapt. So I think that's probably my parting thought.
I think that's great. Right. My mom always said to me, the only constant is change.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Right.
And your mom said it when you were younger. So it's been in place. I just think it's happening at a speed like we've never seen before.
That's right. And turbulent times as well.
Yeah.
So,
but interesting times, no doubt.
That's true. Gary, I really enjoyed our conversation today. Thanks so much for making the time.
Thank you, Jody. No, I was honored to be asked, and it's a pleasure to speak. So thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for listening. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to Tech Talent Today, brought to you by Clearmont Technologies IT Staffing and Search. You can find out more at clearmonttech.com. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and share. See you next time.